Good evening, everyone. I hope you are all having fabulous days wherever you are. Let's head into Collectively Rewilding. All right. Here we are. Definitely some things to talk about that have changed. But before we get started on all of that, does anybody have anything that they'd like to say about what they've had going on in their gardens or their outdoor adventures this last week?
Okay, I do.
Go ahead.
So in the evenings, if it cools off enough, I open my front and back door to help cool my house out because it's been really hot here. And so last night, I opened the front door and I saw something fly, and I thought maybe it was just a big moth. And I thought, no, that was a bat. And I have a cover that I put on my chair, and I thought maybe it flew under that, but I took the cover off. I looked all around. No, no. And I thought, maybe I just imagined it. No, it was a bat. It flew into my house. And so I had to go get my husband up. He was already in bed. And we ended up, it just flew around and around and around and try and land on the ceiling and hang upside down. And we finally opened the screen, both of the front door and the screen door and the back door screen door, and it finally flew out the front door. But I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with the live bat in my house?
I guess they get really enmeshed quickly too. If you
Yeah,
don't realize it, right? Something happens and maybe you have an attic or something. If
right.
they get in, they're, from what I just heard, I can't remember. I just heard about it recently and they can be really hard to get out of buildings.
Yeah. Well, it
So
wasn't a very big bat, and they're really good for getting rid of mosquitoes and bugs and stuff like that, but I didn't want it in my house.
well, they're dangerous to live around, right?
Oh yeah.
They carry a lot of diseases.
Yeah, they can. Yeah.
Mhm.
So anyhow, that's my story.
Very interesting. I'm sure Tammy could probably take that to some crazy wild place. I don't know of any specific omens, but having animals in your house is usually
Freaking snake, a huge, gigantic freaking guard snake. Well, I didn't see it. I was in my room, but my husband came out and it was just like, I don't know, there how would long it was like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 feet or something. It was
that's not a
gigantic.
garden snake.
It was gigantic. Like someone probably let their freaking snake out by accident or it got out, but it was like Daryl was like rustling with that thing. Like it's
It could have been not a king snake.
a gopher snake, maybe.
No, gophers are small. When they say
Yeah.
garden snakes, gopher snakes, those are usually,
They're huge. Gopher snakes in the desert are
let's
gigantic.
see. Okay, I'm going to look this up. Gopher snakes, where I come from, are small.
The ones I've seen in Boron, we had one like wild come into the yard. Oh my God, that thing was gigantic.
Oh, okay. They can go to 7 feet. Wow.
Yeah,
It might,
gigantic.
it might have been a bull snake too.
That's
Oh,
the name I was trying to think of. A king snake, I could not think of it.
yeah. The other day, like a couple weeks ago, there was a small one. Like, I don't really see snakes or anything like that in real life because I always see it on TV, and I never, I see my birds and my chicky monkeys and stuff like that, but never come across lizards. Yeah, but no snakes until recently. I'm like, oh my God, I started freaking out. And Daryl's like, "Where is it, Tabby?" I'm like, it was so camouflaged, like in the dirt, so it was so hard to see it. I saw it clear as day. That was a freaking snake, and he thought he found it, but it went away. But yeah, that was scary, pretty
So,
scary.
is it really dry there, Tammy?
Oh yeah, for sure, it is. Yeah, it's like dirt, and lately we've been just watering it, and they're probably
Well,
just like,
that
yeah.
could be attracting them in.
Oh, for sure. And like we just recently like started cleaning up our whole yard. So yeah, just having junk and mess, like just like, oh cool, this is shade. I'm just gonna chill over here where it's nice and shady. No, no, I don't think so. Not today, never again. But yeah, the rats and the mice, like it's about that time where they're just like, wanting to adventure now. Yeah, and here in California, there's this huge thing with the rats. I don't know if you read an article about it, but yeah, here in California, there's like this huge thing with the rats. They literally they ate like over like I don't know 200 acres or something like that of like farmland, and here in like
Wow.
Ventura County, or I think it was like yeah in Ventura, Sam like. way over there where the farm, the Ventura area. That was crazy. Yeah, so the rats are out here. Very bad. Bad. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
Biodiversity is a big solution for that. And well, snakes too,
Yeah, I just never came across a snake, like a dead one, but just that one. I don't come across anything. Maybe like a kangaroo rat. That thing freaked me out, girl. I was sitting on the porch and this thing started bouncing around, and I'm like, what the, Gerald seen him, and obviously he was in service, so he's seen them, and then 2 seconds later there was a freaking what do you call those, scorpions? Yeah, scorpion too. I was getting attacked left and right with animals that.
Well, you live in the area where desert creatures are going to be, right? It's not sparsely populated, but it's not very populated, and big properties, a lot of separation of people. And so you're going to see the wildlife.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't had any occurrence since that last snake, but just cleaning the property so that it should not happen, No way.
Well, so that it's less inviting, let's say. You
For sure.
can't guarantee it doesn't happen, but so that it's less inviting. I think we posted something, and maybe Ethel has posted several things. Let's just see what we've got in
I just
here.
need to get like a new garage door because like mine doesn't fully close all the way because it's like, it's an 84 house, back in the day where you had to like open it by hand and it's like wood and stuff. So, it closes, but like they could just go right through, and yeah, I gotta get lots of home repairs and stuff like that on the way.
There's always a list, right? All right. Anyone else? That's quite lively there, both of those tales. Let's see if Benny's got anything in the chat for us. Oof, it's a lively chat. Yes, Benny is correct. There has to be a lot of snakes in the desert, Tammy Larson. Yes, there are a lot of snakes. Oh, nice. A California king snake was in his high school homeroom as a school pet, a science classroom. Nice. I don't mind snakes, really. I don't want to be around rattlesnakes or any of the dangerous snakes, but they don't really bother me. Now, tropical, gargantuan, literally capable of eating people sized snakes is a little different, as are those poisonous snakes. And the sea snakes. Oof, the water snakes. I don't care if I don't care if it's poisonous or not. If a snake comes swimming at me in the water, I'm probably going to lose my mind. So there's limits, right? Definitely. When you go out into the wild, you have to be prepared to encounter things that are not necessarily, those are not life-threatening, right? A bull or a gopher snake or any of those style snakes. It wasn't a rattlesnake. It didn't rattle at you. But coming across that when you're not out looking for snakes, which I've never had a snake hunt, so I don't think that's a very common thing, it's going to be pretty startling, and you want to know how to behave. So definitely, and with a rattlesnake, if it had been a rattlesnake, you would have just wanted to freeze. And if you weren't close enough, they can strike. Rattlesnakes can strike for, oh gosh, feet. They can stretch out their body and almost like jump at you.
And I can't walk, Sabrina. So when I saw that thing, I was like, I had the host, like closest thing I had to me and my dog. So I was just like freaking out because I've never seen one in real life, So I was like, oh my gosh, I can't. So I'm screaming for Daryl. It was an event.
So it's this little pile on the ground, but it can stretch up to 2 feet. So just if you hear that rattle, just freeze, right? You literally want to just be still and wait for it to move away if you're that close to it and there's no one there to help you. So definitely something to be aware of. All right, so I've been doing some things in the background, just finishing up and putting in highlighted hashtags, and I'll meet with Julia May again tomorrow, find out where we're headed next. I think I've completed all the tasks that she's assigned me. I have not had a chance, because of all the tasks that I was assigned, to move further with our gardening planner or the resource libraries, though putting the hashtags into those spaces did help my brain just further get comfortable with the idea of what these different resource libraries are going to be. And I actually think that I'm going to start with the gardening treasures, and that will help me quite a lot. So let me just reorder that right now while I'm thinking about it. And so we'll just, oh, that's why though, but we'll put that up, basics for the basics plant. Basics for the basic plants will get moved back up to the top once it's been filled out, right? But I think I'll be able to fill in the resources for gardening treasures more quickly. And so we've cleaned up all the tabs. You'll see that quite a few things have disappeared, but they really weren't needed. We weren't using them. While they served a purpose to a degree, they're going to be replaced in other areas or really didn't serve a purpose. I have to find time to move our soil classes back into that space, the previously recorded, because we're going to remove the course from that structure. Well, not the course. How shall I say it? So it had too much in it, right? It had all of the original material that I had for the process of putting together healthy soil in a garden safety, planning, healing the soil, treatment alternatives that are natural in orientation instead of chemical, harvesting, all these basic type ideas of what it is to garden and walk everybody through it. There's some really, really good pieces in here, but we had over 120, maybe over 150 lessons in here with the classes as well as the structure that was already here. I am going to go through and clean this up quite heavily, but I think that the pieces that are in here are really valuable and really useful, and we're probably going to stick with the majority of them. Just put it together a little more cleanly, very similar to what Julia May has done for us over in Lesko Help 2, cleaning up each of the spaces, getting them better organized, making it more user-friendly and understandable when you first come into the community, making the overall presentation of lessons look more like this with this nice structure. That just is the website's own structure. They go together, these lessons, and they're really great. Utah is really into gardening and agriculture, so of course they have good pieces, and I'm close to it, so they present themselves to me very easily. Then you get into the other lessons, and they don't quite have that nice structured look. So we'll be doing something similar to what we have in Lesko Help 2 when you look at the newer lessons in the Unlock Your Goals collection. And each one has a different piece, but they have these nice placards. It'll look more like this, not like this at all in context or color scheme or anything, but the idea of how these are put together, what the overall presentation style is. A card with our coloring and our goal set and all that kind of material on it, right? And so that's what we'll be moving towards as we continue forward. And again, it's a time-consuming process, so it'll take a while to get it to where we would like to see it, where I'd like to see it. We're almost to the point that I'm ready to do our quick start launchpad, right? Our new member launchpad, as we call it here. And hopefully, I'll talk to Miss Julia again. We need to get something other than a rocket. It doesn't have to be a lily pad if it doesn't work because of the type of icons that are so visible, like especially on a phone. When you go and you look at the icons that Julia May has created for us, Miss Julia May out of Quinn Bee Academy over there, another wonderful community, you see these big, nice, thick-lined emojis that make it very nice on a phone. And when you start getting into those that are the previous icons, it's a lot less clear. And that's pretty obvious just from pulling up the first three. So if the lily pad doesn't work, understandable, but we need something other than a rocket ship. It doesn't really fit our ideology here in collectively rewilding, right? And so those are the steps that still need to be taken to get our new member launchpad up and running. And then that's when we'll get the email sequence out and really start working on trying to bring engagement beyond our core structure here of all of us that are so interested in community and hanging out and working together and already talking about our gardens and all of these different wonderful things, bringing in people that we haven't gotten to interact with as regularly or at all yet, right? I definitely have people in this community that none of us have ever interacted with. And the more we grow, once we start really advertising and marketing all that great things, all those great things that happen as you're trying to bring awareness into the overall culture, we will be, oh, and I lost my train of thought just as somebody popped in. We'll just see it start formalizing and finalizing itself, right? And I did. I totally lost my train of thought there. Did you have something you wanted to add to that, Miss Vanessa? Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't know I was unmuted.
not a problem at all. I think I had lost my train of thought pretty well, no matter what, but we're moving that way, right? And so once that's all taking place, then we should see some more activity and that'll be great, but it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, which is really okay as we're going into the quieter, colder months. And it'll be a lot easier as far as collectively rewilding and the garden to move forward next year with different types of interaction and all of these wonderful fun pieces that we have planned. But dirt work and tree work, right? It just consumed this entire year's growing season. Even though it's not done, it'll go beyond this year's growing season. So still a lot to do yet. Finally feeling better, can actually dig back into that dirt work, no pun intended initially, but yes, literally dig back into that dirt and start moving that around again. We've gotten the trees to a point that they're off the front lawn, they're off the side yard, and the only thing we have left are 4 giant tree trunk bases that we can't move. If we had another man as strong as my husband, they'd manage to eke it out between them. It'd still be pretty rough, but it's huge weight. So we're going to actually talk to Bart, who I'd love to get back into our classes, our next door neighbor over here, and ask to borrow his this incredibly neat little trailer that he has that can also like move things, like flip it for you kind of. It's a really neat contraption. I'll have to walk you guys through it someday once we're out actually in the garden and getting to spend more time delving into all of the fun things that one can do outside in a garden or otherwise, and get those trunks off. So we need to have some heavy duty manual equipment to get those moved out of the front yard. So now we can dig back in to that dirt and start moving it. I also have talked my husband into allowing us to put some small berms in the front yard, just along the edges, not high at all, 6-ish, maybe 8-ish inches high at the height to catch the water. Because again, we have all these little hillocks in our property, and this whole road is on a very slight grade. So there's a lot of water movement on this property, and we can gather that water. We can harvest that into the soil itself by creating these additional little soil structures. We'll also have that water retention out in the front yard, and then it'll cross over our driveway. And when everything is completed, enter into the side yard's raised bed garden and capture yet more water with the Hugel couture spread into that raised bed. And we're just going to see so much water retention over the next several years. It could definitely take 2 or 3 years to reach its full potential in such a dry area. But with the deluges that we get regularly here in the spring, I'm hoping that actually we see a lot quicker full water retention capacity reached in the soil because of those heavy downpours that occur regularly in the spring in this area. They're short, but they're harsh. And you'll see localized flooding wherever there are little dips, and it gets dangerous to drive on the roads in certain spots and all these things, right? And so with that water, it can be damaging, but we can also do things to harvest that water when it comes on our individual properties. So lots of fun things in the works, lots of fun things planned, lots of fun things being implemented, and just continue to move forward. Oh, I do want to do a little bit of bragging. Amber Littlefield, our oldest daughter, she, let's go into our Explore, it'll be there a little bit bigger. She's in here to showcase. This is probably the biggest sunflower I have ever seen. I am not exaggerating. This thing is huge. It's out over here in our backside yard, and Amber's nearly 6 feet tall. And look at it. It is that much taller than her and just glorious. It's probably close to 5 feet in diameter. It loves this shaded area over here, but it had to get bigger before it could put out the flowers because of those trees initially being there. It needed to fight to get the sun, but it had really great growing conditions. And so it just is this marvelous, marvelous volunteer native sunflower. They grow all along the side of the roads here and everything. And so we are just loving it. It's wonderful. And she also made our new logo out of our old logo to follow some more of Miss Julia May's wonderful instructions. And I think she did just an amazing job. She had already completed it, but the old logo had some decoration and it cut off the G here. And I'm like, Amber, can't you just take the bottom of the Y and like stick it on the G? Wouldn't that work? She told me it wouldn't work from the beginning, but I asked her just to try, and she said she tried every possible angle and it wouldn't work. So she took one of the little flowers and made it to cover up that broken G from the logo. And I just think it's really well done. And I'm really excited that I have someone to hand who could help me with these things, because otherwise I would have to pay someone to do that. And again, that's the whole premise as well, right? Doing all this without having to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, finding every little way to save those pennies and put them towards more gardening. That's always the goal around here, at least, right? All right, everybody, let's go ahead and check out our calendar. We'll have to tear into the material that I came across. Let's just show you all. Maybe we'll tear into it this Sunday a little bit before we start reading. There are some great programs that I came across. I thought it was for Tooele County from the USDA, but it's TOOEL without the last E, I think, and it's in Montana. However, they had some amazing pieces from the USDA. And so it's all about no-till. So they're encouraging people in this county in Montana to go no-till, and they'll actually provide help and resources, and I believe some funding, if I remember the email correctly. However, for our purposes, it had some brilliant literature from the USDA. Park Your Plow, 5 tips for the no-till curious. Great little blog article, this piece on soil health that has multiple things to tear into here. Great, great, amazing ideas and ideologies. This is exactly what we work to practice here. Of course, we tore up the soil to create those structures, but once everything's in place, we will do absolutely no tilling unless we absolutely have no choice. And I know I was getting a little redundant, but I do not like tilling. I've not liked it since I was a teenager. I think it's horrible for the soil, and it is not sustainable practice to till on a continuous basis. It tears the soil structure up. You lose water. You lose so much soil to the water from runoff and degradation, the wind. It's horrible. Tilling is a very bad practice. And I read a brilliant book on many different things, urban homesteading, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and it talked about how tilling is so bad. And I'd already questioned so much of what I saw in a traditional gardening, raised bed style garden with the bare soil. It just made absolutely no sense to me. And then I added the tilling into it, and just more and more people are starting to understand and see this. And tilling never allows your soil to create a structure so that it actually works as soil is supposed to work. You don't have the healthy bug life, the healthy fungi that communicates, and it helps all the plants communicate with each other. And they're learning that the plants communicate with the animals beyond releasing chemicals to either draw them in or repel them. There's so much going on there. And when you consistently tear up your soil, you do not get that. And so again, this rat problem that they're seeing in California, destroying their soils and monocropping, bam, problems. This is the solution. And I believe that so wholeheartedly. And this is no-till for big agriculture, big farm production, not just little products like what, not just little parcels like what we're doing here with Collectively Rewilding on a decent sized residential lot. This is big ag, and they want people to think about no-till, and they want them to think about adding these prairie wild strips and these native wildflower strips, and they want them to think about diversifying their crops within. They don't mean it to the way that we would be able to diversify our crops on this small, all hand done for the most part, production on a piece of property in a residential lot. We're talking these big grows. They won't be able to have that much diversity, but they could break up their strips and they could do different things that will increase the diversity of the land, and it would dramatically change how much fertilizer they needed, how much chemical intervention they needed for bugs and pests, and get rid of some of these things like the infestations of rats. You're going to see wild animals, you're going to see pests, but you don't want it to be an infestation. You want it to be a natural part of the ecosystem. So when we completely destroy any portion of our natural environment from being what it's supposed to be, it's going to cause us problems. And the soil is the base of life. The soil and the sea, that's it, baby. We got to have it. It's there for a reason, and it's supposed to work in a certain way. So learning to work more in a natural process, even as big ag, is absolutely vital if we want to continue on in any kind of fashion like we already are today. It's just a no-brainer. And so we have all of these beautiful pieces to tear through. We probably won't watch this video, but this is 5 trials in managing for soil health through a no-till process. And nutrient management, this is something I'm going to be utilizing heavily here as Collectively Rewilding. I believe I'll be able to start working with the NRCS again, the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I always point over here because that's where my local dashboard is with my Farm Service Agency, Natural Resources Conservation Service, and Rural Development Office. I always have mine listed right here, so at any point I can get in touch with them without even having to look. I didn't used to know how to easily get to those places, right? When we're tearing through those resources in Lesko Help too, sometimes we can get lost on those mazes. And this was before we'd had any formalization. So I found it, I printed it, and I kept it. Now I could walk through it in 2 seconds and get you guys there, no problem. So many resources out there, you can get lost. And this is another type of program that the Natural Resources Conservation Service handles. And I want to be as much enmeshed with them as I can, because I want them to see what I'm doing here, because I want them to be able to extrapolate that so much further than I can just here on my own property. Now, of course, we as Collectively Rewilding, we can push that further. And each of us that are doing what we're doing in our areas, if we're talking about it and we're telling our story and we're getting people excited and interested, even if they're teasing us or laughing a little bit. I have gotten so many conversations started by getting people to laugh a little bit about what I'm doing, but then they get interested, right? And so that's all how we continue to move this forward together as individuals, right? It's a little bit contradictory, and yet that is the best way for us to have the most impact as individuals, is to talk to those who are like-minded and work with them and have them work with us and come and join in circles and places like this where we can all push forward with different methods, different thoughts, yes, but towards a common goal of a healthier way of interacting with the environment around us, right? All right, so I got a little carried away. Some really great resources over here that we can definitely be looking into. And so going into our calendar there, we have Miss Tammy's Tea and Talk with Tammy this Saturday, August 23rd, and that is at 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 1 o'clock p.m. Mountain, 2 o'clock p.m. Central, and 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern. I hope to see you all there. And then I will be back with you this Sunday, August 24th at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 8 o'clock Mountain, 9 o'clock Central, and 10 o'clock Eastern. All right, guys. I hope you all have very sweet dreams and a wonderful rest of your week into the weekend. Please feel free to unmute and say good night, everyone.
Buenas noches.
Night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
guys.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're wonderful, Vanessa. I think it came at like a fortuitous moment because I think I had already lost my train of thought. I was scrambling and then I heard a sound and then I'm like, oh yeah, it's gone. So no worries there. All right, you guys, hope to see you tomorrow for Miss Tammy and at all the classes over there in Let's Go Help You. And have a good night. Bye, guys.